unidentified anomalous phenomenon, what an encounter with an alien might practically look like, and the possibility that private companies have unidentified crafts and might even have biological or non-biological specimens that reveal that aliens are actually here.
In fact, Neil was invited to inspect a mummified alien in Mexico, and he shares that story with us.
We also talk about Neil's trip to Antarctica and the hidden lakes and what life forms might be in those lakes. We're also going to ask him about DMT. Is it possible that there is a code hidden behind the reality that we think we are experiencing? Neil weighs in. That and so much more on this episode. Welcome in person to The Breakdown, Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Break it down. Thanks for having me back. You said you would invite me back after I told you aliens were in our future, and you.
We think we inspired the book.
It's the fastest written book we've ever seen.
I will say you are the quickest repeat performer here at Bialik Breakdown. We had such a great time with you. It's such an honor to get to speak to you here. And literally, we spoke about aliens, and then this came out. So
I've seen better.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Better.
The dog ate our homework.
The dog chewed on the corner of the book.
It was delicious.
I mean, actually, the whole cover was pulled off.
What? Look at this thing. Holy.
Yeah, he had a really good time with it, as did we.
So I think the dog found something in the book.
Oh.
That wanted to eat the evidence.
Too dangerous.
That's the best way to get rid of evidence. You eat it.
It's a very, very dangerous book. Take me to your leader, perspectives on your first alien encounter. So lest people think that all of a sudden you are on the alien bandwagon, explain the framework for this book.
That's an excellent question. So alien bandwagon, let me pretend I don't know what that means. And let me just say that for the longest while, the reports of aliens, or let's say UFOs, let's start there, were common in back roads, the farmers, back 40, the revelers after the bar closed at 2 a.m. And so you had sufficient reason to hold suspect the person doing the reporting. If you needed to look for reasons, there it was.
Right.
Okay?
Easy to explain away.
Easily to explain away. These people just have a little bit of crazy in them. Their imagination got the best of them. And over the decades, the reports were becoming sort of more and more official. And we can go back to the release of the Project Blue Book, an early effort of the military to track unexplained phenomena, and they were not able to correlate it with anything that was not of this earth. So that disappointed many people who felt sure that there's a lot of not of this earth happening on this earth. So really, it began for me in 2023, 2024, 2025. We had this parade of insiders, whistleblowers, ex-military, intelligence agencies saying under oath that in the back shed there are alien body parts or living aliens
or aircraft,
alien crashed saucers and reverse engineered technology. And what I remember most curiously is, wow, all of Congress is at peace with itself during these hearings. They weren't fighting about anything political. It transcended partisanship. So I said, whoa, so Congress can get together. I just thought there was a little sort of silver lining of that I think wasn't widely appreciated. So, but I definitely noticed it. And, oh, and by the way, Ronald Reagan in 1987, addressing the UN, said, I'll paraphrase, because we're still in the Cold War, I wonder if we discovered hostile aliens, whether that would bring us all together as one species to fight them off. So there's Ronald Reagan thinking that way. So this is a little smidgen of what he meant by that. We're all together investigating it. So I said, all right, you can't just write off these comments. So I thought what I should do is jump in the ring and share a scientific foundation with people who are looking at and evaluating and assessing evidence. And then tell people that the battle cry, I need a witness, the battle cry of courtrooms, said no scientist ever, because eyewitness testimony does not count as evidence in the court of science, however important it is in the court of law. Material evidence is evidence, not someone's claim that something happened. So if many people start claiming the same thing, that's indication we should look a little closer to get that evidence that the scientist seeks. And in fact, a friend and colleague of mine was head of a committee established over those years, those 3 years, 23, 24, 25, he's an astrophysicist. He said, let us look at all of these reports and see how we can improve the data taking. Instead of just a testimony, instead of a fuzzy photo, instead of, okay. So they want to create an app, because we all have there's 6 billion smartphones in the world, 6 billion. And each one obtains huge quantities of metadata for every photo you take. It's what is the longitude and latitude where it was taken? What is the elevation of the phone? What was the brightness conditions? What was the color of things? So if that happens through an app, and then the app can be centralized in some way, then if there's a phenomenon and multiple people see it, you can triangulate on it. One of the hardest things to establish is the distance to an object, especially if it's an unfamiliar object. You know, if it's a basketball, you know how far away it is by how small it is. If it's a car, you know, but if it's a spaceship, if it's a flying saucer, you have no idea.
It could be miles wide.
Miles
it could be
wide
a room wide.
Exactly. Because the angle will still be preserved if it's small and nearby or large and far away. Yet people are still just coming up with distances to things because they think they know. Whereas this would get rid of that uncertainty. So I think they're still working on the app, but that would be a very important first step. So then I said, all right, I just took is it a hardline posture? I'm saying, is it too much to ask at this point for you to bring out the alien? That's all I want. And the moment you do that, no one has to ask you, do you believe in aliens? Which has built in the implicit requirement that you believe testimony of various people. Here's an example. Let's say just a few dozen people in the world had ever seen an octopus. Okay, and now they line up in Congress to talk about it. You gotta believe me, it's this creature with no bones. It's this wide, and it's
got 8 legs.
8 legs, and it has suction cups along each leg, and it can open doorknobs, and there's brain tissue distributed into each of the 8 legs, so the 8 legs have a kind of independent, and it has a huge eyeballs, and it swims.
Also, it's really smart.
Oh yeah, and it's really, really, really smart. It can figure stuff out.
It can distinguish between stripes and polka dots.
And some of them have cloaking devices where they can go to the ocean bottom and take on the appearance of their environment so they become invisible. And they say, well, can you draw one? And no one knows how to draw these things, right? So they draw one, and it looks completely crazy. So this is kind of where we're at. We have some even trusted witnesses describing something extraordinary, when all you have to do is bring out the octopus. No one will then say, do you believe in octopuses?
And we want that. We all want that.
I'm saying, is it too much to ask?
It's not.
Thank you, host of our own.
Go and do something that's a little crazy, which is put your scientific hat just not off, but just tilt it to the side for a second.
Do you realize what you're asking me to do? No, it's just
Well, you also have a science fiction side, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you have an amazing imagination. So I think the first question I have is like, given that the credibility of the witness has increased so dramatically.
And by the way, it wasn't just that parade of witnesses. There was an entire nearly 2-hour documentary called Age of Disclosure.
Oh, yes, we've seen it.
Yeah. Where they have many more people who testify not necessarily in front of Congress, and they're completely sincere. You at no time are you thinking these people are just publicity hounds or
No, we spoke to Ryan Graves, who was the first, current standing pilot. And, he's not saying I'm seeing aliens, but what he is saying is there's something going on. There's clearly some sort of cover up, and no one's talking about what we're supposed to do next.
It's not a cover up if insiders are saying what was covered up. The moment they say that, it's no longer a cover up. just
They're saying
the person saying
right.
An insider saying there's a cover-up, at that point, it's no longer a cover-up.
Well, that's what makes you a whistleblower.
Okay.
There's a lack of clarity about what it is that he witnessed and he experienced, and that many other pilots that he claims also.
And let me draw a line between seeing something you don't know and understand and calling it a UAP, which is rebranded, what is it, unidentified anomalous phenomena. And who are they kidding? They're talking about UFOs. So,
it's a 4-syllable word. You got to throw it in there.
Anomalous. So if you don't understand what it is, then you don't know what it is. And what I've said many times before, I'll continue to say, just because you can't identify what you're looking at does not mean it's an alien.
Sure.
It just means you don't know what you're looking at. And let's investigate it further. So many pilot sightings, they don't know what it is. And everyone is jumping to the conclusion that it's an extraterrestrial alien visiting Earth.
Well, hold on. Ryan Graves for sure does not, and I think that
many of them do.
Right, many do. But I think what's true is we do need a transparent exploration of these things. I think you would agree with that.
Well, isn't that what's happening now? Whether or not it's transparent, you have whistleblowers and insiders. So I don't need. In fact, when the Pentagon released their files, it was almost anticlimactic, given what has already been testified.
Correct. I thought we'd see a body and an aircraft, and I wanted a chemical analysis of a material we've never seen.
Lay it out there.
Right.
Just put it out there. And so none of that happened. He wants me to twist my head a little bit.
That's right, just a little bit.
So I'm happy to do that.
Okay, let's go sci-fi for a moment.
Love it.
Because we've spoken to people who say, of course the information hasn't come out, and then they give a very elaborate reason why that is.
No, that would be conspiracy people. That's a whole other sort of category of
Well,
person.
some of these people are highly credentialed also. They're in academia.
No. If you're only saying it's probably there, but it's not coming out, that has nothing to do with credential. That's just, you want a gap. You want to fill a gap between somebody else's testimony and what you think is going on. That has nothing to do with how high ranking you are, just to be clear.
So there is a gap, and I don't think it's as much conspiratorial as it is incentive structure. They want to explain an incentive structure, which may sound conspiratorial, I'll admit, but I'll present this information to you for your analysis.
Yeah, I would say, bring out the alien. That's my analysis. I'm saying I don't know how much more we can or should be listening to eyewitness testimonies, because they're getting very redundant very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, because they're saying, I saw something and it did something that laws of physics don't allow, whatever. What I did in the book was, in a way, it's a love letter to human fascination with aliens, because what we imagine aliens to be is basically crowdsourced in Hollywood. All right. Look at the creativity invested in what people think aliens could look like, should look like, might look like, from comedic to very serious. Comedic would be Mars attacks, for example. That's just campy. But then you get other attempts to be authentic, whatever authentic means in this context, such as the Alien series. right, with Sigourney Weaver. Then there was the prequel with, what was that one called? Prometheus. So there are hundreds of movie aliens, maybe perhaps around 100, referenced here, checking them for how imaginative is this, given what we know about the laws of physics, the size of the universe, what the technologies might be. So here's a property. Here's a good one, an alien power. Is there anything that gets in the way of that? No. So maybe an alien could have that. So it's a very honest not investigate. That's too
Exploration,
many. Exploration of human imaginings of what aliens could be. And I think that's a fun fact about what it is to be human, because even if you don't know, we can try to imagine. And an entire industry is built on that.
What would you want them to be if you could design your version?
Yeah, I don't put my desires on the universe itself. It just never works out, the history of that exercise.
Well, you talk about the arrival aliens, and that's kind of a cool, they have a whole linguistic and conceptual
that was another
linear time.
I had another issue. Yeah, it was circular time.
Yeah.
So we have linear time.
Meaning the issue with linear time.
Yeah,
they solve it by making it circular.
Exactly. And so I had that's fine. One concern I had was, they make their squid ink patterns on the other side of this I'm assuming it's glass, but it could be some other alien transparent substance. And then we go up to the glass and then interpret it. And did that alien draw it backwards for us?
Just like Leonardo da Vinci. What's your problem?
Explain to everyone why you said that.
Leonardo da Vinci wrote in mirror. It was like his own little fun trick.
He was left-handed.
Yes.
And some have argued that if you're left-handed writing with liquid ink, you would only write from right to left.
Yeah.
And that way you don't get ink all over
I have a lefty, yes.
Yeah. So it was just not so much he didn't want people stealing his work.
Well, and also the notion that Leonardo da Vinci was writing in some coat, just hold up a mirror and you can see what it is.
Except mirrors were very uncommon at the time.
That is also true. But you could, in theory. But so that would be part of the arrival.
He's smart enough where he could have just invented his own a cryptographic code.
100%.
100%.
Yes.
So I'm not buying the fact that he didn't want people to read it.
Yeah. Wasn't that much of a mystery.
So another issue I had with the arrival aliens, by the way, you have to distinct. There were two arrival movies. One with Charlie Sheen playing an astrophysicist, and that was, I think, from the 90s. And then there's one has a "the" in front of it, and the other is just arrival.
You're right.
And so, but anyway, the one we're talking about now is where they came and they have these pods that float in different cities, and we send a physicist and a linguist to figure it out, which I would have never done.
It's a pretty cool twist, though.
I would have sent an astrobiologist and a cryptographer. That's what I would have sent. And then I tweeted that. I felt bad because only then did I realize, how often do you see a linguist in a movie?
Right.
Like never.
It's true. Nobody even knew.
Where astrophysicists are in every freaking sci-fi movie. And so I felt I cast shade when I really shouldn't have.
This is also a great time to point out recent research, I think, out of Stanford. Sperm whales seem to have a grammar to their language. And I thought, finally, like linguistics and biology, right? And neurolinguistics is finally combining.
In fact, I say something in the book that might not be entirely true, where aliens would come visit us and they see the same species around the world that cannot communicate with itself because we have different languages. And they might find that odd.
Right.
And then I say, because whales talk to each other and dolphins talk to each other. It might be that a dolphin or a whale on one side of the world has a completely different dolphin whale language. I'm thinking not. Maybe it's just dialect.
Yeah.
They might have an accent.
No, that's what you mentioned. Like, just think of this notion that aliens, I mean, I think that's part of what the book also allows us to explore. Not just what it would be like for us to encounter aliens, but what do we look like, right? To an alien species.
A whole chapter is given unto that. Oh, let me finish the point about the septopoid aliens in Arrival. I just wonder, if you're squishy like that, how do you build things? How do you hammer together? How do you
With your mind.
assemble Oh, okay. Thank you for
Wait, hold on,
answering
one
that
second.
question.
And also, we spoke to Stephen Wolfram, who was the consultant on Arrival. Your problem is if you're squishy, how do you build things?
If you're completely squishy, if you're just squishy all around,
Right.
neither an exoskeleton, which
Right.
is pretty good, like insects
right.
have that, or some skeleton on the inside where
Right.
we could harm ourselves if we're. That's why we wear gloves
Yes.
to protect our squishy outer,
Right.
because our bone
Or on the
inner
inside,
is what's
right.
really making
Right.
okay. So, one of those. I don't think the squishy alien can do the karate chop and break
Got it.
bricks,
Okay.
for example. That's all. So I'd be curious if they did do it. I'd wonder how.
Right.
All right. So
Not carbon based.
yeah, and by the way, carbon back addressed that as well. It's an assumption, but it is not a wild assumption. Speaking as an astrophysicist, I can tell you. Oh, by the way, let us remind ourselves. Your readers surely know this, given your professional background, not as an actor, but as your lab background.
Yes.
That why would anyone suggest that there could be life based on
Carbon.
Silica? Silicon.
Oh, yeah.
Why would anyone? Why you got 9,900 other elements? Why are they picking silicon? Because silicon on the periodic table of elements sits exactly below carbon, and all elements in a column have the same configuration of electrons in the outermost shell. And that's the configuration that determines what kind of molecules you make. So every molecule you can make with carbon, you can make with silicon. So we have carbon dioxide, CO2, there's silicon dioxide. We have CO, carbon monoxide, we have SiO. Did I say that right? Silicon dioxide, SiO2, silicon monoxide. And so imagine life, but you swap out a silicon atom with a carbon atom at every point. What would that life look like?
It would look like it's made of a strudel because that's what silica looks like.
Or silicon is like the active ingredient in rock.
Right.
So you could be a little more.
It's like a pastry. It's like a flaky pastry.
So it's a fun exploration to consider. But again, speaking as an astrophysicist, carbon is the fourth most abundant atom in the universe. It's the third most abundant chemically active atom because helium is in there and helium is inert. So it's out of anybody's consideration. It's out of the running. It's the third most common. Next is oxygen. Next is nitrogen. Next, a bunch of other elements. And somewhere down there, you get to silicon. So you don't need to appeal to silicon because carbon is abundant and very sticky to make huge complex molecules. So it is an authentic, a justifiable bias is how I would say that.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna step in it one more time, and I'm gonna.
Wait, did we still move my science hat aside yet? Did we finish your point?
This is a creative.
Because we keep interrupting you.
If we do circle back to that, this is the writer, sci-fi Neil deGrasse Tyson, and the explanation is that if a material had been captured, and they're trying to reverse engineer it, then the people who are reverse engineering it are contractors. They're not actual government agencies.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
They're using a variety of contractors.
Especially since if it's a government agency that's traceable through budgets.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you and the technical skills required would require contractors to be able to execute that.
Which, by the way, is a fundamental feature, I'm not giving away too much here, of the film Disclosure Day. That there's a private company involved, and that way you can't trace anything.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it.
Thank you for your...
That's right, my official opinions.
Steven Spielberg knows what's up. So these private companies may have gotten some material, whether it be biologic or whether it be the craft of some kind. And the theory is that all around the world, governments are in a race, similar to a Manhattan Project style, to reverse engineer this technology. And the rub here, the incentive structure, is that if they break this and they crack that code, then it upends energy production or the use of the type of energy that we will harness. And that will totally upset oil markets, upset natural gas markets. And so it's a massive disruption to the world's economic powers.
I don't have a problem with that, but still show me the alien.
I
I mean, yeah, keep the technology on the wraps. Show me the alien, and gag the alien.
Yeah,
so
but
they can't speak.
The implication would be that would be a reason for a cover-up.
It'd be a reason to cover up the technology.
Because it might change the way we do business. I don't even like.
to cover
it
up the
would change
technology.
the entire.
Still show me the alien.
Yeah.
That doesn't. You
Right.
don't. You're not. We're good there. We're expecting that. With it, like I said, is that too much to ask?
Well,
Now here's something you might not have known. Okay, Wright Brothers fly what year?
Don't do this to me. I don't know.
1903.
Okay.
Okay, it would take
I was about 30 years off, so not too bad.
44 years to break the sound barrier with Chuck Yeager. Okay, do you realize he broke the sound barrier 3 months after Roswell? Just putting it out there. Okay, so what happens again? 10 years after we break the sound barrier, we're orbiting the Earth. 12 years after we're orbiting the Earth, we're walking on the moon. Okay. So, if you are in denial of the pace of science and technology, you're only accounting for that is that we're reverse engineering brilliant technology from visiting aliens that are kept under the wraps.
Wait. Hold on a second. Wait.
What?
I didn't know that's the dance we were doing. So you're saying, and I'm literally, this is me literally not knowing. Some people have said that what happened at Roswell led to this exponential increase in technology and aeronautic sophistication.
The examples I just gave you, I haven't seen anyone present, but people have talked about reverse engineering technologies. So the reason why I have this precisely laid out, not that you couldn't look it up, but I spent a chapter of my previous book.
Right.
I think I talked about that book last time I was
Yes.
talking about the pace of progress in our society. What's the doubling time of discovery and published research? And we have linear brains. We think progress goes linearly. There's no reason evolutionarily for us to be able to think exponentially. It's out of our reach, yet it happens around us. And so in that book, I spent an entire chapter looking at 30-year increments, and from 1870, before anybody was talking about aliens, up to 2020. And each 30-year increment brought extraordinary advances in civilization. So I went through that and picked 4 or 3, whatever that was. And all I'm saying is, if you understand how exponentials work, it is not a surprising fact that the pace has grown at that rate. Presuming you're in a culture, such as the United States 20th century, where there's the free and open frontier of scientific research and connection channels between science and clever engineering. If that is not there, then you're living in a cave and you'll stay there, right? But the United States had it, and that's why we essentially control the world for the entire second half of the 20th century. And that's the period over which I'm describing these great advances. There's a famous, a fun exercise to test exponential thought. So I tell you there's a lake, and there's an algae that's growing in the lake, okay? And the algae every week is doubling how much area it's covering on the lake. Every week it's doubling. And you see the lake, and it took a year for half the lake to be covered by algae. So the question is,
How long will it take
to cover the entire lake? And 99 out of 100 people will give what answer to that? A year. The answer is 1 week. That's the difference between thinking linearly and thinking exponentially. And I got on this exponential trip because I was when I was at Princeton. Princeton has an astrophysics library just dedicated to I thought I died and went to heaven when I went, okay? And on one wall is every single issue of the Astrophysical Journal, which was birthed in the year 1895.
Wow.
So the first one is on upper, and it's one wall. And I said, let me just do an experiment. And I said, what year is the middle of this wall? I did this experiment in 1992. What year is the middle? Okay. It was 1978. So as much research was published between 1978 and 1992 as had been published between 1895 and 1978. So then I went into that part and I said, where's the middle? And so the point is, astrophysics research, which had nothing to do with flying saucers or anything, is just what's our understanding of the universe. The doubling time was actually 15 years. And so that got me on this whole thing to think about that. So you're denying how clever we are as a species if you're saying we could have never thought that up. It had to be aliens. Therefore, they're aliens in a locked box in the shed. And we're reverse engineering it.
Fantastic.
So that's my long reply to your...
It's not going to make the best movie.
You had the opportunity to see an alien and you turned it down.
Yes.
Can you explain to us what happened?
Okay. So I was on Colbert and I commenting on these parade of testimonies, and I said, bring out the alien. This is not the first time I've said this. Show me the alien. Don't just talk about the alien. Show me the alien. And, okay, so Colbert agreed, fine. Then within weeks, I got a letter from a Mexican, I don't know what his exact role was, whether he's one of the wranglers or one of the organizers, but he said, we brought out the aliens that we have that were found in the Nazca Plains of Peru, and they're on display in the Mexican Congress. We have them. Since you wanted that to happen, we did that for our own mummified aliens, or unmummified. They were mummified, and I looked at the pictures of the aliens. Okay, they're very archetypal. All right, kind of bald head, big eyes, nose, mouth. The mouth is like this, like they're smoking a pipe or something. Anyhow, arms.
Gray?
They're mummified. They were dark gray.
Okay.
Like sidewall dark gray.
Yeah.
And no, a little lighter. Yeah, gray. Definitely gray. Not green.
Not the green.
Yeah. And they had hips, legs, femur, feet, arms, fingers.
Humanoid body.
Humanoid. Thank you for helping me out there.
Hips is like, what's he thinking about the hips?
If you got hips. And they went into one of them and took x-rays. And they found eggs in one of them.
Wait, what?
Only now are you wondering?
Wait, I'm sorry.
Only now?
Like eggs that you could see in an x-ray?
Eggs.
Because I know how big my eggs are. You can't see them on an x-ray.
These were like reptilian-sized eggs, like this big.
Like an ostrich egg?
Except they were elongated rather than spherical. So there were 3 eggs. Now, here's something interesting that no one is thinking about, okay? This is an x-ray.
Those are birthing hips. That's what...
I saw, because the hips were right. They're nice and wide.
No, okay. I'm like, why is Neil deGrasse Tyson thinking about an alien's hips? Now I know.
Because we have the eggs. They had to come through the birth canal, whatever that is, in the alien.
Those alien hips don't lie.
Hips don't lie.
Okay, go on.
Okay, all right. So, generally, when you look at an x-ray, you're seeing it in the negative. Okay, they hardly ever print an X-ray in positive film.
Right.
Because the bones and other hard tissue absorb X-rays, which means the X-rays do not penetrate through them. So if you see it in an X-ray, they show up white. Okay? Because the X-rays were absorbed by it, and the film on the other side doesn't see the X-rays. Okay? So it's just, in the negative, they show up white. Your bones and other hard tissue. These eggs were completely white. So the X-rays did not penetrate the eggs. Clearly, that means they're made of lead. Okay.
So wait,
or some
aliens give birth to babies through lead eggs?
I don't know. Actually, there are many materials that'll block X-rays, but eggshells are not one of them. All right.
Right.
So
sorry, just to fill in the blanks.
Yes.
If those were real or biologically recognizable eggs,
yes,
those should have absorbed the X-ray. Those should have looked like bones.
No, X-rays should have gone straight through them.
Yeah, sorry.
And that it would not have shown up as bright.
Sorry.
In a negative. Those subtle point.
Yeah.
But I spent a lot of my life being a photographer.
Yeah.
I had a dark room developed. So I have high awareness and sensitivity to the photographic process. So that was a little weird. But he wanted to invite me to investigate them. To inspect them.
Yeah, the letter said.
And he said, we will pay. And for, in ways you are accustomed, someone of your rank and privilege, and we'll give first-class accommodations. And I said, thank you for this kind invitation. But I declined because I'm not the one who should be seeing these. You need a biologist, a biochemist. You need someone who has professional understanding of biological tissue, biological forms. It's not about whether I think it's real. It's about whether someone with an expertise to make that judgment can know that it's real. All I know is that your eggs are not made of eggshells. That's all I can put into this conversation. And I said, and in the end, it's not about even what your group says about this. It's take some of the tissue, send it around the world. That's what we did with the Apollo rocks. There were collaborating museums and research labs around the world. The Apollo samples that were brought back were doled out to the world so everyone can see where we had been. That's how science works, especially for an extraordinary claim.
Sure.
And so that was my reply. So no, I didn't go.
Okay, I want to know. Human Neil deGrasse Tyson, not Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Was human Neil deGrasse Tyson curious?
Well, I was suspicious of it.
Okay.
Again, because you had asked me what alien would I create? It would not be humanoid. Because if it's not of this planet, why should it look human at all? When most life on Earth does not look human. Okay, the plant behind you doesn't look human.
That's a good point.
Okay,
yeah.
It's just, and with whom we have DNA in common.
Right.
All right. So if you come from another planet with no DNA in common or no DNA at all, to be humanoid seems to me to be a creative stretch.
Unless
of the imagination. So I was skeptical, sufficiently skeptical to say that trip should be taken by someone with direct expertise in or mummified tissue, for example.
Right.
Then I would later learn that there was a Peruvian investigator who tested it and said there's some biological tissue in it, and others is like paper mache, and that they put. Maybe you don't believe him because it's Peru, and maybe there's a.
No, it's disappointing. Paper mache.
Well, no. So it was exposed as a hoax.
Yeah. By
this Peruvian investigator. So maybe Peru and Mexico have a thing.
You're saying there might be some dispute between, let's say, the Mexican mummy wranglers and the Peruvian authorities.
There was a headline.
Right.
Peruvians are wondering how their mummies ended up in Mexican Congress.
Got it.
So there's a whole other geopolitical thing going on there, which I didn't find. Okay.
Yeah.
But all I said was it wouldn't. I'm not the adjudicator here. It's scientists that have that expertise. Yeah. You know how I can adjudicate? In one of the Star Wars movies, in fact, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, they take the Death Star, new and improved Death Star, they park it next to a regular star, and it sucks energy out of that star. Now it can kill 8 planets, obliterate 8 planets instead of 1. Okay.
Are you okay with that?
No. Because the energy of a star, because the star
Right.
disappears,
Right. Oh, no.
can destroy 50,000 planets.
I knew that movie was a bad idea.
Not just 8 here and there. So had they gotten the science right, the dark side could have been way more diabolical.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I have the chops to comment on that.
There is one more thing I'd like to ask regarding all of the, kind of hubbub, right, surrounding conversations about aliens. So there is,
Aliens on Earth.
aliens on Earth.
Yeah.
A little bit of, when you look for something, sometimes you find it. But Michio Kaku, who we recently had the pleasure of speaking to,
And he's a friend and colleague at
Yes,
the City College
exactly.
of New York.
he was recently on the news. He was on Fox News, and he was talking about, the dozens of missing or dead American scientists over the last, the last 5 years or so.
11 scientists over 4 years.
Yeah. Well, that's just in the last 4 years. So are people looking for something that isn't there and we're finding it? Why are so many, I'm just going to ask, why are so many people who are doing research in this field either dead or missing? Like, that's a true thing.
Oh, you didn't say that at first.
Yeah.
You just said scientist.
No,
And scientists
I
do
meant,
die.
No, I understand. No, we're talking about people who are working in the. I mean, these are this is suspicious. Like, it's just suspicious and it's odd. So I'm curious, and I feel like you do have authority to speak on this because
Okay, I did. I did.
be careful what you research.
Thank you for being concerned for my health.
That's my veiled
and
threat.
safety. I didn't take the time to look at the statistics
Sure.
of those data, but there's someone else who did, and I read what they wrote. So I didn't corroborate this, but what they said was they looked at how many scientists die every year, and it's like thousands of scientists die every year.
Sure.
You can cherry pick that, find some that have overlapping interests, and say that there's some. At some point you have to use the word conspiracy here. You can't.
I'm not Dr. Kaku. I don't know.
Okay. So I'm not. Since I saw something that basically said it's not statistically odd, but I didn't verify it.
Sure.
It's easier for me to think that it's not statistically odd when you look at how many scientists die every year
Okay.
and in what fields they're doing research.
Okay.
And from what I remembered, again, I'm going by memory of what I read, some of them did work in this field, but were long retired from that. So they're not even active in the field. So if someone is sneaking up and snatching away
Sure.
scientists and killing them, like, there's a way better list you can come up with than those 11. So, in fact, here's another way to ask it, which I do often in the book. People have some conclusion or some hypothesis and say, have you asked these other questions? For example, get 10 people who are UFO enthusiasts to list, or any number of them, to list who are the top 10 people who would be most susceptible to being kidnapped, killed, or disappeared. If anyone in that list of 10 showed up in that list of missing people, that would be interesting. Then that would be, there are people who are especially insiders here, and the government just got rid of them. To come after the fact, there's something called the sharpshooter effect. Do you know about this?
Mm-mm.
It's a statistical effect. It's what happened. You remember, we're old enough here in this room to remember people were claiming that high tension power lines were causing cancers. Do you remember this?
No.
Or that cell phones were causing cancers. You remember this? Okay, they were related because it was
Okay, got it.
electromagnetic energy caused cancers. So those studies didn't just study all people exposed to electromagnetic energy and look
Sure.
for where cancers would arise. They went to cancer clusters
Right.
and then looked to see
It's an ad hoc.
if there were extra electromagnetic energy there, which means there might have been places
Yeah.
where there was lower cancer risks, that had just as high fields that they were embedded in, but they would never show up in the data because that's not how they searched the data. It's called the sharpshooter effect. And it's called the sharpshooter effect because if you have the side of a barn, I blindfold you and I say, empty this gun on the side of the barn. And then I go to where most of your bullets clustered, and then I draw a bullseye around it and say, you have good shot. You know how to shoot straight even when you're blindfolded because you created the target after the data had been established. And so you can fool yourself into thinking something is real that isn't. And so what happened there is they found people who died or were missing, whatever. And, oh, by the way, the people who are missing were older, and that can happen, neurologically.
Sure.
So, is it once a month I see on the highway? We call them highways back east, not freeways. An alert, silver, what do they call it? Senior citizen alert.
Yeah. We're having it right now.
Yeah. So you're older, it's dementia, the person leaves in a car.
You and I both just had a stroke. We both died. This is our near-death experience.
And we're trying to find the car. So
Sundowners?
I don't know. Okay.
Sorry.
Silver alert, it says.
Silver alert. Silver alert. Silver alert. So if none of these are who you would have picked, and now that's happening, and now you're going to pick them, that's not how you analyze data.
All right.
That's
Much ado about nothing. We can check that one off the list.
You're safe.
You're safe.
I hope. If I go missing tomorrow.
This is what I say when we talk to materialists. I hope that an alien abducts him and gives him the full lowdown on you were wrong. Guess what? There's a whole other plane of consciousness. So I wonder, if this will happen.
Go to the
you.
Epilogue.
Yes.
We will be filming your exit from this building so that we're not liable.
Go to the Epilogue.
Yes.
Okay.
And
read the first
I read
sentences.
I read this to Jonathan.
Read it now.
If I ever go missing during a night of observing with my telescope, don't look for me on Earth. Look up to the stars because that's where I'll be with the aliens in their dimension. They'll probably confiscate my smartphone. I won't try to harm them, so they may be kind or they might make me their pet. Sounds scary. And then you go into a very interesting analysis. On Earth, we treat needy pets better than we treat needy humans, and you go on to describe that.
Yeah, so it would be, and then they'd send me back, but I wouldn't have evidence of it other than my testimony because they
no one would believe you, and you'd see how it feels. And we'd take away your degree. We would blacklist you. You'd be listening to Grateful Dead, smoking weed all day.
That's what I said at the end. I said, I will have a hard time convincing people of this. But then I say, maybe, because I'd want to be, they might enable me to visit their science academy. And we trade ideas of technologies and things. So if I can't convince people that what I would do is maybe get some insight into a technology that enables us to visit the stars. And then based on that, we visit other civilizations, becoming the aliens of their fantasies.
Before we move on to Antarctica, like you do, you mention the movie Contact, which for many of us was kind of our first contact, right, with this kind of conversation. And it's definitely worth revisiting, I think, for anyone who hasn't seen it. It's very old school. It's very late 80s, early 90s.
It was 1996, I think.
Right, but I'm saying it's got that vibe of it's very tropical.
And may I remind you and alert those who have yet to see the film, you never see the alien.
Okay, so this is what I was going to say. So the place of visiting the stars, right? And again, we're going to ask you to take off your astrophysicist hat for a second.
I can do that.
The place that Contact takes you is a place that Jonathan and I accidentally keep encountering by hosting this podcast. We keep talking to people who have experiences completely separate from aliens, right? We talk to a lot of people who have, medically verifiable, bizarre experiences. They're brought back from death. Let's say they have a cardiac event or they have an adverse reaction to a medication and they're brought back.
You're entering the non-materialist realm.
Correct. No, that's why I took to take off your hat. You may have to take your hair off.
I'm conversant, believe it or not.
What struck me when I saw Contact was that it reminded me, not the alien part, but the notion that there is a place that we can access, whether it's in our heart, whether it's in our imagination, whether it's in our fantasy, or whether it is a transcendental plane of consciousness. There's a place that you can touch that is out of this realm. It is out of linear time. It's out of factual time, right? It is a place where you can do something even as amazing as feeling like you are witnessing the existence and presence of someone who died, right? That place is what I'm interested in, because that's a thread that people keep connecting.
Could you go back to the epilogue and read the shortest paragraph in that epilogue?
The aliens might be intrigued to learn that some of my fellow humans who ingest the hallucinogenic drug DMT see aliens. And there's an associated movement to establish two-way communication and see what we might learn. But I'm not talking about DMT or aliens.
Regardless, what I'm saying is that's a neurological experience that has a certain commonality among users. I don't know. I don't know what percent of that total of DMT users it is, but it's enough for them to get together and try to think about it in a way that materialist investigations would fail. And so I would share that fact with the aliens. They might be intrigued to learn this.
That we have a drug that peels back whatever this virtual reality is that apparently we're experiencing. I mean, what people who take DMT and who are part of this kind of community, which again is different than I think the near-death experience community, transcendental experiences, things like that. The notion being that there's a reality that we all can't see, and DMT allows you to literally peel that away, and what's behind it is kind of like a code that's like in some, looks like Japanese characters and little men.
I have a second cousin niece or something. Just thread that through and you get to her. She's a real estate broker and educated, college educated. Her father died, who would have been my second cousin, whatever. Okay. Is that how that works? Yeah. He died and she had to go identify the body. So she goes into the morgue and the body's there. And it sits up and starts talking to me. Hold on. Just hear me out.
I'm with you.
Okay. And she describes the entire conversation and writes to me and says, because she knows I'm a rationalist, she said, "What do I think happened?" Okay. So I said, either you had an encounter with the great beyond,
sure,
which would be amazing, and we need to document this and explore it, or it happened entirely in your head. Okay? So you'd had an acoustic as well as a visual hallucination. People commonly think of hallucinations as just something you see. You can have acoustic hallucinations as well. All right. I said, next time this happens, here's what you do.
You're of no use to her.
No, listen to me. Listen to me. Well, no, I put this in a book called Letters from an Astrophysicist, so that if someone else reads this, they might, you want to test this. You want, oh my gosh. And so, and in the conversation, it was, how are you? I'm fine. Make sure you take care of yourself, look after mom, this sort of thing. And I said, that's not the conversation you should be having. Instead, ask these questions, okay, swapped out with whatever else you say. Where are you? Are you wearing clothes? Do you eat? If you do, where does the food come from? Who else is there?
Neil deGrasse Tyson, you're no fun.
Listen to me. Listen to me. And how old are you there?
Yes.
Is grandma 89 or is grandma 30? Okay.
Everyone's 30.
Everyone's in their 30. I'm
mad at you now.
I'm not done with you. Okay. So ask those questions. Then you're getting some information from the other side. Then get someone to write a simple phrase on a piece of paper and put it and seal it in an envelope. Okay. Like roses are red, or the thunder is loud.
Yes.
Okay. Then when he sits up and he's looking at you, open this message, face it to him and say, read this message. I don't know what's on it. You read it.
Okay.
And then he reads it back. And if he reads it back correctly, This is real communication with the other side.
Okay, it's my turn now.
Go.
Has she ever spoken to you again?
No, she asked me because
Yes.
she wanted some insight into what was going on. And I said it's either one or the other. And if it's the other side, experiment with it.
What is missing from this conversation is something that I know you have because you are a partner, you are a son, you're a father. There is a feeling state that is real, right? What we experience is real.
Emotionally, yeah.
Emotionally. That is a real thing. And first of all, I think you really like harshed her buzz.
She asked me. What? She came to me. I didn't go to her. I didn't chase her down.
But I think what's compelling and what Jonathan and I do think deserves weight, and I think you would agree, is that there's an emotional experience connected to, right?
Yes.
Being able to
She was
be in
feeling
touch
something
with
very
something.
deep in
Correct.
that moment.
Correct.
Yes.
And in that moment, you don't necessarily think of facts. You don't think of evidence. You don't think of what am I collecting. You are experiencing something out of this world. And what she experienced was a communion, right, with her dead father. So it's kind of like I apply this
A good
same
Catholic
logic.
word you use
right?
there. Very
when,
good. You can-
when I apply this conversation to
You get
when
extra points.
Thank you. The Jewish girl gets extra points.
Yes, yes.
When we apply this same kind of logic to, let's say, people who experience telepathy, people who say that they're communicating with nonverbal individuals on some plane of consciousness, right? The telepathy tapes took the world by storm, right? In terms of like what is happening. For me, there is a piece here that is not easily verifiable. It's not easily replicable. It's not something you can experiment on. You're telling her to do an experiment when what she's having is a singular experience that may never happen again. That doesn't make it untrue for her. It makes it unverifiable, untestable, and unable to be replicated.
I didn't say, first, I never said that, I never denied her feelings or her experience
That's nice.
in this
Yes.
at any time.
Right.
Nor did I make fun of it. I just gave the blunt fact that you either communicate with the great beyond, actually, and if that's actually happening, that's a testable thing.
Yes.
Or,
Is it?
I'll explain how and why in a minute. Or it happened entirely in your head.
Totally.
So let's next time try to distinguish
I
between
get
these
it.
two cases.
What
So
is
now watch.
testable about
I'm
that?
going to tell you. After long thought about this, I've arrived at the fact that there are three varieties of truths in the world. One of them is a personal truth. That is what you feel in your bones is true. Is Jesus your savior? Is Muhammad your last prophet on earth?
You were going for Moses.
Okay,
That's our prophet.
Okay.
Moses was our prophet.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Moses
Was-
is my
was-
homeboy t-shirts
yeah,
don't really go.
yeah, that's right. So, or is Taylor Swift your queen? Personal truths are things you hold dear, and they're true to your, down to your bones. Yet, to convince someone else of that truth requires an act of persuasion. And in the limit, acts of violence, which is the origin of the religious wars of the past, where you don't think Jesus is your savior and you're not going to believe me, I'm going to kill you. Okay? That's what happens with personal truths. Then you have political truths. These are truths that become true in your head because they were repeated so often. Evolutionarily, this is a hijacking of an evolutionary thread, because if you just experience the world and something repeats, it's probably true. And you can rely on it doing that same thing the next time if you've seen it happen multiple times. If you hijack that in a political environment, and I just repeat something to you, it was a crooked Hillary, or that was what, you just take a phrase, pick anything that you've heard repeated, you eventually begin to think it's true.
That's propaganda, right?
It's propaganda.
Yeah.
It's precisely propaganda. And the third kind of truth is an objective truth. This is a truth exquisitely established by the methods and tools of science, which require an experiment to test and somebody else's experiment to verify. And then ideally a competitor and you do this enough times, hey, we're all getting kind of the same answer, statistically the same answer. We have a new emergent truth, an objective truth. Earth is round. It goes around the sun. The sun is hot. The air is 78% nitrogen, 20% oxygen, and 1% other, mostly carbon dioxide. We have a metabolism. Food has an energy content. These are things, they're so, and by the way, they were all established by science. But they're in your life now, and you just take it for granted.
Well, I think also there's such a proliferation of people challenging objective truth, whether it's the government, whether it's social media. Like, I'm pretty sure the Earth is round.
What is their foundation for challenging the truth? Is it an objective truth? Is it a personal truth? Is it a religious truth? Is it a cultural truth? Is it a community truth?
Right.
Okay. Community meaning we're in this club together.
Right.
Or you're either with us or you're against us. And I worry that the alien thing was becoming that. Are you a believer or are you not? In there, the chewed up book, I comment on do you remember Fox released in the 90s, was it? The Alien Autopsy?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Forgot about that.
Okay. It was a documentary.
Yes.
From 1947 where they're performing an autopsy on aliens recovered from the Roswell crash. Okay? And the first tip I'm happy to start off thinking it's real, but the subtitle was Alien Autopsy, Fact or Fiction. They're already telling you maybe it's not real. It's for you to decide. Well, I looked at it and I saw a telephone on the wall. It's in black and white, grainy footage. It's a telephone on the wall with a coiled handset. Now, I worked at Bell Telephone Laboratories as a summer intern, and you tour the history of phones. The coiled handset was not yet invented in 1947. It would come maybe 10 years later and not be in widespread use until the late 50s. First. Second, it's cinema verite. There's like a camera over the shoulder of the alien following it around. That and I took a film course in college, that did not come around till the late 60s, okay? And
look at you, Columbo.
And they didn't have shoulder-mounted cameras you could do this with in 1947. They were tripod-mounted, and you were not following anybody around.
It was probably an alien doing the photography.
Oh, there you go. Okay, wait. And third, they cut them open, and they fold back the flesh, and they're just pulling out organs, and there's no connective tissue to the organs. It's like they're playing the game. Remember the game Operation? You just pull the organ out. They're just putting the organs out on the side. What is that? And so I had skepticism from the beginning. Later, the producer would say it was a hoax.
It was a pseudo documentary.
So I'm saddened that the best video evidence ever put forth on the existence of aliens was hoaxed.
Yeah.
I'm saddened by that. I have no problems if it is a personal truth that you experienced. But if you're the only one who experienced it in the detail that you have, you cannot require that other people believe you because it didn't happen to them. So that's really all it is.
But I think that's also, it's very generous of you, and I think it makes sense. It's not that you're saying if you have a personal truth, it's not real. You're saying that in order for us to elevate it to the status of objective truth, there is a process, and if it does not live up to that process, it doesn't mean that it's not true. It means that we can't prove it.
It means it's a personal truth.
Right.
It means, and that you cannot elevate it to become an objective truth.
Right.
Because it's not true outside of the neurosynapses of your brain.
Right. Or your conscious experience.
Well, there'd be neurosynaptic.
Okay, yes. Okay.
Wait. Are you saying your consciousness exists outside of the neurosynapses? Are you saying that? Because if you are, I would ask, a person who goes through mini strokes, they're kind of leaving the world while that happens. That right on down to the last few strokes. They're not, no one would say you have a consciousness, all right? That you're not giving them that much credit, given whatever is left of their brain until the last stroke takes them out. And now they're there on the slab with their body temperature dropping to room temperature. Because of the mini stroke scenario, which happens in reality and in a thought experiment, I'm not given reason to think we survive our own consciousness.
Jill Bolte Taylor.
I think Jill Bolte Taylor's one of them.
You can think that. I'm just not given reason to think so.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah. No, I was thinking we recently had on Vinnie Todd Tolman, who was zipped into a body bag and watched that happen, and then was brought back in an ambulance.
I have a comment
and then he
about
was
that
in a
as well.
coma, and when he kind of obviously came out of this coma, and he had watched the whole thing, and of course you're relying on his recall of things that happened outside of the room that he was in. I mean, this is what Bruce Grayson, what Jim Tucker have spent, half a century studying, is people who have reports of their consciousness not being in the room that their body's in. And no one needs to be able to explain it, but like, what the actual fuck?
So what I would do,
Yeah.
if I may,
Yeah.
at this table. So last time I did this, you paddle slapped me. Okay, I'm still sore.
And you liked it. It's the
That's why he came back so fast.
That's why he's our guest who came back the quickest.
You got a room in the back.
Ready for his punishment.
Bam, bam. So,
All right.
so
yes.
here's the
Go
experiment
ahead.
you do
Yes.
when the person's dying and comes
Yes.
back to life.
Okay.
Okay?
Your experiment.
Yes.
You're always trying to
They're
put people
busy
to
meeting
death.
God.
Okay.
They're busy meeting God, and
Hold
you
on.
want them to be like, I'm going to put a piece of
No,
paper over
here
there.
it is. Here it is. So you
Yes.
put a little bridge over the table
Oh, yeah,
where they're
bridge.
dying. Okay?
You
And,
said-
and once again,
On top.
you write something on top. And so if they
my
have an
God.
out-of-body experience looking down
He
on them,
didn't know he was going to die in a Dairy Queen.
but you have a room just set up for this.
So you're just bringing them down through anesthetic.
So they come back. They couldn't do this in advance, of course.
But 30% of cardiac patients do report this. So,
So
you've got a
therefore,
great...
you put a saying up there that only the hospital knows.
Correct.
You can swap it out in case
Yep.
somebody cheats.
Yep.
And then have the person with the out-of-body experience
Yes.
report on
yes.
what that said.
I'll get on
Then
it.
Get on it. Then we can have that conversation.
Correct.
Until then, it's kind of inside
I'll be like,
the brain.
hold on, God. I got to read this message that's
and
listed above my bed.
I'm not going to focus on helping you save me.
Sorry,
just
I'm
gotta-
busy meeting Jesus,
We're
but
doing-
Neil deGrasse Tyson
We're
wants
doing
me to read
science
this.
here. Science first.
It's like, oh, sorry, Dad, who I've been missing for 60 years.
Heaven can wait. Okay. So wait for the
Heaven
science.
can wait for Neil deGrasse Tyson.
All right.
Okay.
So
Yes.
I remember there's an example. Did I tell this story last time? I don't know. Because it was, I was in high school. There was a thug in New York who was being chased by the cops. He had just harmed someone, and he had a rap sheet, miles long. They shoot him. Okay. But they don't kill him. Back then they used less lethal weaponry than they do today. He was unconscious, brought back to
Yes.
consciousness. He's sitting up there in the hotel room, and he describes his experience. He said he was on his way up to heaven. His brother had died in the streets, okay? And he followed this light, and he was on his way to heaven, and his brother was there. And he said, it's not your time yet. It's not your time. And he remembers his brother pushing him back to earth. And apparently his brother had big hands, so he remembers the big hands pushing him back to earth. And he never made it up into heaven. And then he's back, and he can talk about it. This was banner headlines, especially in like the Daily News and the New York Post. Okay. And I was thinking about it. And I said, if you're coming in and out of consciousness and they're trying to save you on an operating table, isn't there a bright light above you? If you undergo cardiac arrest, aren't there hands coming down on your chest?
Or paddles.
So back then,
Yeah.
maybe not so much.
Someone was putting hands on him for sure.
Yes. So again, I was a geeky kid. I'm
Yeah.
in high school. I was thinking this through. Either he was on his way to heaven, and why would he be on his way to heaven given this life of crime that he had led?
Oh, please. Now you're
All
going to get
sins are
religious on
forgiven.
me?
No. He said he's going to heaven after he just
It's a euphemism.
harmed people because he's going up to the light.
Yes.
How often do people ever imagine themselves going to hell? Pretty much not. I bet Hitler wasn't thinking he was going to hell or imagined going to hell. He thought he was doing good. Okay? So either he was on his way to heaven, his brother put him back, or he took this semi-conscious experience of operating table lights and cardiac resuscitation and turned it into a story that had meaning for him. And so I think it all should continue to be explored, and that's your department. What the hell?
I'm busy,
Don't come to me asking what's going on in the brain.
Okay,
Brain lady.
I think it is an interesting experiment for the sole reason that multiple people have an experience that is the same, and it's an external observation.
And we are all genetically human. I would expect some overlap between, especially when you're not really in control of anything anymore. Your body is autonomic. All right, your body's trying to not die. Your brain is trying to save organs, the organ functions. So we're all human. We're the same species.
There's going to be redundancy.
Some redundancy, yeah.
Explain the DMT experiment.
Okay, so this is Danny Goler has presented. It is a pilot study, and it's a protocol for trying to test this, like, is there some code that all people on DMT see, which is revealing like the nature of reality and the truth? So what it is, and I'm just referring to the paper here. So there's a 650 nanometer refractive laser, and it is mounted and it's diffracted so that it creates stripes, like vertical stripes on the wall, and it's a red laser. And basically, people on DMT are told to observe this laser and see what they report. And the things that people report, which is what Jonathan is referring to, this is how it's described: Japanese katakana-like characters. They're these symbols running with these different like laser diffraction lines, kind of like the Matrix. It's like there's a code behind reality. Also, there's these stable geometric structures. So like there's an image here. It's there's a triangle, and there's other things that you'd like see in a, Doctor Who episode, like kind of cool geometric shapes. And then the third thing that people report is that it's persistently visible, that once observed, you can tap into that at later times, even with limited or minimal DMT doses. So that once you've been like shown this code, like it exists forever, and it's from this laser that is projected and diffracted onto a surface. But the idea was, is there something that this drug is peeling back, allowing us to access some level of consciousness? Which, look, people who have taken LSD have reported this. It was an entire movement when you were, a young man. This is the notion. Well,
I was.
well, I mean, I'm sure you remember
the interesting
Timothy Leary, right? Like, all the things. Correct.
I'm a 60s baby.
Yeah.
But the interesting part of this is multiple people seeing something that is the same,
correct,
reportedly the same, and that when you
the
move
same
this
geometric
laser,
structures, yeah,
it's now changing what is being revealed.
What would be important here is if each person taken into a separate room,
correct,
wrote down what they saw and to see if they corroborate.
Yeah, and I don't have that
because
here.
in this book, in the Take Me to Your Leader, I refer to an alien visitation to a small village town. I forgot where in Africa, but it was in Africa. An elementary school class on recess, outdoors, all say...
Oh, this was yes. There's a documentary.
They all say they saw a flying saucer land,
yes,
and an alien walk out.
Yes.
Okay?
And it was in South Africa, yes?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
it was in Africa. I don't remember if it was in
I think
South
it was in
Africa
South Africa.
specifically.
Yeah.
But
it's
anyway,
a great documentary.
It's fully described in the book.
Yeah.
I fully
That's
describe
right.
it.
Yes.
And so they all draw pictures, and there's good agreement among the pictures. And so I ask a couple of questions. I say, well, all the children drew these pictures together. They weren't taken to separate rooms. So there's very strong correspondence, suggestive correspondence. If one person says they saw a thing and you hear that, and then it just gets amplified within you. So that's not the best way to take data. It's just not. But even had they done that, I asked the simple question: how many children's testimonies of a flying saucer and an alien are worth the testimony of a single teacher, adult teacher? And teachers are educated, and they're not
Well, they're educated in a culture of, oppression and subjugation.
that too. Okay, okay. So how many child testimonies are equal to testimony of one teacher? Then I say, how many adult teachers testifying is worth one alien? That's all. That's all I say in response to that phenomenon. So I would be delighted to learn if taken separately,
Right.
they write down the same
Yeah,
code.
I'd have to
And
look
then you
up
bring in
the,
a cryptographer, not a linguist.
Sure.
Okay.
Right.
And if they peek around the edge of the laser, that would be fun to see what else they see and have them draw that separately.
Yep.
So
Also, they're,
interesting. So
also
we
they're
would
on an
more.
extremely heavy drug that
Yeah,
is like
more
makes it very
experimenting.
hard.
Yeah,
to,
and the fact that the collimation simply means that all the light is of exactly the same wavelength. All lasers by construct are exactly the same wavelength. That gives them this special intensity in your eye. It's not just a broad green, it has a particular intensity. The green, the blue, or the yellow, and it has a particular intensity to it.
Yeah.
And so you have to go back to your drawing board and say, are there certain neurons that are triggered by that frequency transmitted through the retina that others are not? And then what does that stimulate in the brain?
Yeah.
I've never done drugs because, and you will surely have something to say about this, and I'd welcome it. The human brain barely works as it is.
It's true.
I mean, open up any book of optical illusions.
Yeah.
Oh, is what simple drawings? Is one line longer than the other? I can't tell. So simple drawings completely confound your rational understanding of an objective world around you.
Yes. They're much more interesting when you're stoned, though, I promise.
So
No, but I think it's a different reality.
I care about what is objectively true beyond my senses.
Correct.
And to stir chemicals in my brain on the expectation, not for everyone, of course, but on the possibility that somehow it's better connected to objective reality, I'm highly skeptical of that.
Well, and
now some chemicals like caffeine can perk you up and maybe give your senses a little more acuity. Perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, we have receptors, obviously, for all of these things, but
yes, we do.
Transcendental meditation can also do a very similar thing. It just takes a lot longer and is much harder to learn. But people who have transcendental experiences,
travel to India for.
Have you meditated?
I've tried, but I always fall asleep.
Yeah,
I just fall asleep. I can. Right. I'm a sleepy guy. I'm not sleepy, but if I need to sleep, I'll just sleep. And so I listen to meditation tapes.
Sure.
And I'm just asleep.
It's the number of podcasts you do. It's exhausting.
No, but just to speak to that point, drugs is not the only way to get to this place. Thomas Campbell, theoretical physicist, the very first time he went to like a TM lecture in college, he had no idea what it was. And he said he was gone for 20 minutes. He was in another part of the atmosphere that he didn't even recognize himself. He came back, he fell off his chair, and he was like, what just happened? And they said, it's been 20 minutes. And he said, that's impossible. So obviously it takes a lot longer to learn. It's different. But yeah, the fact is the removal of that veil, which is holding us here, also protects us from a lot of other information.
You're harkening back to
Absolutely.
that scene in Contact where Jodie Foster's character says, I spent,
Correct. That's
however many, 20 minutes, whatever,
Correct.
with dear old dad, and no one believes her.
Neil, it's the same thing.
Because there's just static
Correct.
on her camera. And she just fell straight through the concoction. However, what they didn't pursue was there was 20 minutes of static. And they just said that, and nobody pursued that.
But that's actually why Arrival is so interesting, because so many of these near-death experiences, so many of these transcendental meditation, Buddhist monks, people who are meditating like this for a living, time no longer has the function that it serves. So there's a lot of beauty in that. But
so if you're a physicist fellow who I don't know,
Thomas Campbell,
if that experience gave him deeper insights into physics, then I'd say sign me up.
Yeah.
So,
he wrote a trilogy about it. It's his theory of everything, TOE.
Is it correct?
I mean, he's a theoretical physicist and a professor. I would love for you to look up Thomas Campbell. Yeah, he's a fascinating guy.
What did you find in Antarctica?
Penguins. 100% of the world's free penguins are in the southern hemisphere. A few in the Galapagos wander the equator goes right through the Galapagos.
Wandering penguins,
So
yes,
they might
beware.
they might check to see what the northern hemisphere feels like, but penguins in the southern hemisphere, polar bears in the northern hemisphere.
Any underground lakes?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, Lake Vostok is an important one. Lake Vostok. It's been a few years since I've checked up on it, but last I was all in on it. This is a lake that's been sealed off.
For like 150 million years,
yeah, it's
right?
been sealed. It's beneath ice. It hasn't seen the light of day or the air of day in some on an evolutionary timescale.
It's Atlantis.
So it has become the darling of people, of astrobiologists, to see, is there some path that evolution took with no correspondence with the rest of what's going on Earth? And could this serve as a model for other icy places in the solar system, such as Europa? Europa is a moon of Jupiter. It's very icy, but the inside is kept liquid by stress placed upon that moon from Jupiter's tidal forces. And so we think there's a lot to learn there. Now, what could be there? It's evolutionary on the sort of millions of years timescale, but not on the billions of years timescale. So it's just, we would see life that would have something in common when that lake formed.
But what are we talking about? For people who have no idea, like, it's tiny little things, it's humans, like, it's woolly mammoths. What are we talking about?
Microbes and other,
Yeah, right.
yeah. And if there's anything that's still alive there, it would have to be a self-sustained ecosystem.
Right.
Because you can't only eat other living things. That does not work. Okay, so a colony of cannibals at some point has to bring in fresh meat. They cannot just reproduce and eat themselves.
Right. They're not reproducing their
you can't.
food source. Right.
That is thermodynamically not possible. In the same way, what do fish eat? Other fish. You keep that going. If there were only fish in the ocean, that would not be possible.
Correct.
Because that's the cannibal problem.
Yeah.
Okay? At some point...
someone's going to get some fiber.
Somebody's getting their energy from the sun. And plant life will do that. You know, the kelp and things. And the fish, somewhere in the fish food chain, somebody's eating those, the green food sources. But primarily, that the base of that food chain are phytoplankton. Because they convert sunlight into their own metabolism.
So we're not going to find some like crazy fish we've never seen in a lake in Antarctica.
So if you did, there'd be some energy source that we don't know about.
Okay, got it. Okay, that would be
yeah.
Maybe an octopus.
An octopus figured it out.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, the book in its full form is Take Me to Your Leader, Perspectives on Your First Alien Encounter. Thank you so much for being here. We have such a great time with you.
Again.
It was really, really awesome.
And just love what you do and your career.
Thank
you.
We'll see you tomorrow.
I'm not your only fan out there.
Thank you.
Just,
appreciate
just
it.
keep doing the good work.
Thank you.
Do I say keep doing God's work?
Oh, well, yeah, don't get crazy.
They're totally crazy.
Thank you so much. You know, it's interesting, Jonathan, because, you know, having Neil here in person, it's such a pleasure. It's so much fun to talk to him, to listen to him. You know, I think it's really special that even though, you know, his book has a definite angle, right? A definite kind of perspective on, you know, show me the alien. It's those like kind of vulnerable moments that sort of allow me to see deeper into the way he constructs his worldview, but also like, you know, his brain works a very specific way.
What we didn't get to were all the moments where you and I are caught in some strange activity that we're in. I think it was like the other day. I was standing.
Why are you telling this?
I was standing on a chair, balanced on a desk, hanging something while you were like propping underneath.
I have a thing that I'll say, and it's aliens.
No, it's the aliens arrive
The aliens
now.
arrive right now. And whenever we're like doing something crazy, we were using like a level. We were trying to hang a picture, but of course we didn't have a step stool because like 2 Jews. And so he's like balancing on a rolling chair and his leg on a desk.
And I'm like using the desk to hold myself.
And I said, if aliens arrived right now, they'd be like, what are these people even trying to accomplish if this is how they hang a picture?
Not all of us are able to just hang things with our mind, just think something and it magically appears.
No, but this is a thing that I do when I think like, gosh, whenever we're doing something like just like impossible or like it takes 3 people to peel a banana, it's like, oh, do it this way. Like if aliens arrived, we would seem like absolutely no threat. Like we're their pets. We would be their pets. I didn't like his explanation of why we can't have a silica-based world.
When I'm dying,
Jesus.
I would like you to make sure that you write a note on top of my bed, but you're going to actually bring in a bed frame into the hospital and there'll be a canopy. I'd like you to get a ladder and climb on top of that canopy and write a note that says, if you're reading this, you might be dead. And I will come back to Earth and tell you that. I just think the whole nature of testing that type of experiment, it's not reasonable. That's not a reasonable way to experiment. And while I understand the scientific method, at what point do we start to say that, like, all these people having these experiences, there's got to be something here. I don't know that a double-blind experiment is the way to create the next understanding of what's happening.
So I think that you would need that kind of experiment for the kind of truth and verification that we're talking about. That's just true. And it makes me feel like maybe these worlds just kind of have to be separate. The other complication is, you know, my suggestion, and I'm being totally serious, like if 30% of people, right, who have a cardiac event or, you know, die and are brought back, 30% of them report a near-death experience, that's a great population to tap into. But think about the practicalities of that. Someone is being wheeled into your hospital and you're like, can you sign this form? It's an IRB form. We'd like you to, you know, read this thing. Like, it doesn't happen. What you'd have to do is every single cardiac department across the world, if you go visit a cardiologist, you sign an approval that if you are ever in a situation where you happen to, God forbid, be in this situation, please read the thing that's on the ceiling. So the practicalities of testing these things and the way that Neil talks about it, it makes me worried that we'll never be able to come together. But I have to believe, and we know some of these scientists, some of them are secret. We know these scientists who are working on practical and physiologically reasonable ways to understand what is happening. I mean, he near lost his mind when he heard that I thought that consciousness might exist outside the body. I'm extremely intimidated by Neil deGrasse Tyson, but when he challenged me...
That's why you paddle him. Put him in his place.